Lasting change doesn't come from massive effort, but from consistent, small, repeated actions that rewire the brain. Neuroscience shows habits begin to lock in when practiced daily for about 3 weeks. Begin each day with intentional breathing and gratitude to prime the nervous system. Move your body every day, even briefly, to signal vitality and break old patterns of lethargy. Nutrition, focus rituals, digital boundaries, and nightly reflection, small but powerful levers to transform health, clarity, and identity. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Now imagine this. In just 21 days, your life could look completely different. Not because you overhauled everything at once, but because you shifted into alignment, one small step at a time. There are 6 simple habits that, if practiced daily, begin to rewire your brain and body into a new state of being. Science shows that your nervous system adapts, your brain creates new connections, and your identity reshapes itself when you repeat actions consistently for 3 weeks. The first moments after you wake up are sacred. Before the world pulls you into noise, pause. Place your hand on your heart. Take 3 deep breaths. Feel gratitude for one thing, big or small. This isn't just positive thinking. This is teaching your brain to orient toward possibility rather than fear. Your body is energy. Movement is how you awaken that energy. You don't need hours in the gym. Just 5 to 10 minutes of stretching, walking, or even dancing tells your nervous system, I am alive. I am ready. Small daily motion builds momentum. Food isn't just fuel. It's information. Each bite is a message to yourself. Choose one upgrade in your nutrition. More hydration, more whole foods, fewer processed spikes. Over time, these small choices rewrite how your body feels every single day. No mobile phones. Your attention is your currency. If you spend the first hour of your day scrolling, you've handed your mind to someone else's agenda. Create micro boundaries. No phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. Or turn notifications off during focus times. This habit reclaims your mental space. Each morning, write down the 3 most important actions for the day. Not 10, just 3. As you cross them off, you're signaling to your brain, I keep my promises to myself. That builds self-trust. Before bed, don't just collapse into sleep. Take 5 minutes. Reflect, what did I do well today? Where did I grow? This isn't judgment. It's integration. It teaches your mind and body to carry lessons into tomorrow. Now imagine doing these 6 habits. Not once, not twice, but for 21 days. Your identity begins to shift. Your energy changes. You feel clearer, calmer, more powerful. Small habits repeated consistently unlock the greatest transformation. The question is not, can you change in 21 days? The real question is, are you willing to become the person who does these small things daily? Because if you are, then change isn't just possible. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. When people think about transformation, they often imagine a dramatic overhaul, a sudden leap into an entirely different life. They picture themselves waking up one day and instantly living as a new version of themselves. But true and lasting change doesn't work this way. Human biology and neuroscience show us that the brain, the nervous system, and even the body's chemistry adapt most effectively through repetition of small, intentional actions over time. Over time. The idea that one massive, singular effort will create permanent change is a myth. What actually rewires your identity and shapes your destiny are the small shifts you choose to repeat consistently. Every thought you think, every choice you make, every behavior you perform is like a signal being sent to your nervous system. Over time, those signals carve out pathways in the brain. Neuroscientists call this process neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Think of it like walking through a field of tall grass. The first time you step across, there's no path. But if you walk that same line every day, eventually the grass lays down and a trail appears. That trail is easier to walk, smoother, and more automatic. This is exactly how habits work inside your brain. Small shifts repeated daily create new trails of thought, emotion, and action. Consider how overwhelming it feels when you try to change everything at once. You set big goals, you push hard, but within days or weeks, the momentum fades. The nervous system perceives massive change as threat because it disrupts stability. That's why so many resolutions fail. It's not that you lack willpower. It's that the biology of change is built for gradual rewiring, not for giant leaps. By making small, sustainable adjustments, You bypass the resistance of the survival brain and begin to introduce new patterns that feel safe and achievable. For example, instead of committing to run 5 miles every morning when you haven't exercised in years, what if you simply decided to stretch for 5 minutes each day? That single small action may not seem powerful, but it begins to prime your nervous system for movement. It lowers the threshold of resistance, and once it becomes automatic, it naturally expands into larger behaviors. Small shifts compound because the brain builds upon existing patterns. This is why consistency is more important than intensity. A single workout may change your mood for the day, but daily movement changes the chemistry of your brain. One night of meditation might calm you temporarily, but daily practice reshapes your nervous system's default state. A healthy meal improves energy in the moment, but repeated daily choices alter your metabolism and cellular health. Every small act is a vote for the person you are becoming. And when cast consistently, those votes accumulate into a powerful new identity. Science supports the idea that the brain loves repetition. When you perform a small action daily, neurons begin firing together in the same sequence. And with enough repetition, they wire together. This creates an automatic program. At first, a habit requires effort because the trail in the field is not yet clear. But with time, the action becomes effortless. This is why small shifts are not just easier to start with, they are the foundation of sustainable transformation. Think about the emotional dimension of this process. Big goals often carry pressure, self-criticism, and fear of failure. But small habits are achievable and give you daily wins. Each small shift signals to your subconscious mind, I am capable. I am moving forward. Those subtle messages accumulate, creating a new sense of self-worth and confidence. The emotional reward system in your brain begins to associate the small shifts with feelings of accomplishment, which reinforces the desire to repeat them. Another key aspect of small shifts is how they influence your environment and your relationships. One subtle change in your daily rhythm ripples outward. For example, committing to drink more water each day may seem minor, but over time it improves your mood, your focus, and even your patience. That shift impacts how you interact with people around you. Suddenly your energy is different and others respond to you differently. Small internal changes radiate into your external world, reshaping not just how you feel, but how life responds to you. It's also important to recognize that the subconscious mind operates primarily on patterns. If you wake up and repeat the same emotions, thoughts, and actions day after day, you keep living the same experiences. The subconscious doesn't differentiate between what is helpful or harmful. It simply repeats what is familiar. This is why most people feel stuck in cycles of the same results. Small shifts interrupt that autopilot. They are conscious acts that send new instructions to the subconscious mind, gradually teaching it to accept a new baseline of behavior and identity. What makes small shifts so powerful is that they are subtle enough to bypass the inner resistance that normally holds you back. The conscious mind may resist a complete lifestyle overhaul because it feels too daunting, but it rarely resists drinking one extra glass of water, writing down one daily intention, or pausing for 3 deep breaths in the morning. Quote, these small actions sneak past the gatekeeper of resistance and begin building momentum. Over time, they accumulate into significant transformation because they're repeated without triggering overwhelm or self-sabotage. The beauty of this process is that it honors both the science of neuroplasticity and the deeper truth of human transformation. Change is not about force. It's about alignment. It's about teaching your brain and body a new way of being through gentle, repeated signals. When you commit to small shifts, you're not just changing behavior, you're reprogramming your biology, reshaping your subconscious patterns, and building a foundation for a completely new way of living. There is a rhythm to transformation, a biological timeline that governs how quickly the brain and body adapt to new patterns. Change doesn't happen instantly, it happens progressively as the nervous system learns to recognize new behaviors as familiar, safe, and automatic. The concept of 21 days has been studied and spoken about because it represents a powerful window of adaptation. In this time frame, your brain begins to shift from conscious effort into unconscious programming, creating the foundation for lasting habit formation. Every habit you currently live with, whether supportive or destructive, was once a conscious choice repeated enough times that became embedded into your neural circuitry. The brain operates on efficiency, always seeking to automate behaviors so that it can conserve energy for more complex tasks. Repetition is the language the brain understands. When you repeat an action over and over, neurons in your brain fire together in the same sequence, and with enough consistency, they wire together. This is why the phrase neurons that fire together, wire together, captures the essence of habit formation. 21 days is significant because it allows for enough repetition that the new behavior begins to feel natural, but it is also short enough to be achievable. It creates a psychological bridge, a container of time in which the conscious mind can stay engaged long enough for the subconscious mind to begin adopting the new pattern. Think of it like planting a seed. On the first day, you place it into the soil. The next several days require watering, sunlight, and care. At first, nothing seems to change, but with consistent nurturing, roots take hold beneath the surface. After about 3 weeks, the first signs of growth emerge, and from there, the plant develops with greater. Habits follow this same principle. In the beginning, repetition feels effortful. You must remind yourself, push yourself, and choose consciously to act differently. This is the phase where resistance is strongest because the brain is still wired for the old habit. The survival system prefers familiarity, even if the familiar pattern is harmful, because it feels safe. But when you cross the threshold of consistent repetition, usually around 3 weeks, something remarkable happens. The new behavior begins to move into the background of your mind. It starts to require less energy, less struggle. The neural pathway becomes more efficient, and the behavior begins to feel like part of who you are. This is why so many people experience breakthroughs after maintaining a new practice for 3 weeks. Whether it is daily meditation, exercising, journaling, or choosing healthier meals, the behavior begins to feel natural. The brain starts to expect it. The nervous system adjusts. The identity begins to align with the new habit. And suddenly, the effort diminishes. What once felt like a challenge now feels like a normal part of daily life. There is also a psychological dimension to this 21-day cycle. Humans are wired to respond to milestones. When you commit to a period of 3 weeks, your mind recognizes it as a manageable challenge. It's not forever, which reduces the sense of overwhelm, but it's long enough to create momentum. Each day you repeat the habit, you accumulate evidence that you are capable of change. By the end of 21 days, you have not only begun to rewire your brain, but also proven to yourself that you can stay consistent. This proof becomes the foundation for greater transformation because it shifts your belief system about what is possible for you. The body also responds within this time frame. Patterns of physiology adapt as the habit is repeated. For example, if you choose to begin exercising daily, if you choose meditation, your stress hormones begin to regulate, your heart rate variability improves, and your emotional state calms more easily. If you shift your nutrition, inflammation begins to reduce, blood sugar levels stabilize, and cravings start to diminish. 21 days is enough time for the body to register a new normal. And once the body adapts, it supports the brain in maintaining the new behavior. The cycle of 21 days is not about perfection. It's not about never missing a day. It is about consistent engagement, about returning again and again to the habit until it begins to anchor itself in your subconscious mind. Even if you stumble once or twice, the momentum of repetition continues to build as long as you realign with the practice. The nervous system doesn't require flawless execution. It requires persistent repetition. When you reach this threshold, the habit begins to generate its own momentum. The brain and body crave it because they have adapted to the benefits it provides. What began as effort becomes a source of energy. The repetition has not only rewired your mind, but also reshaped your identity. You no longer say, I am trying to meditate, or I am trying to exercise. You simply are a person who meditates, who moves, who eats differently, who thinks differently. This shift in identity is the deepest level of transformation, and it begins with the simple act of repeating a choice for 21 days. It's important to remember that repetition doesn't just rewire habits, it reshapes perception. When you repeat a habit long enough, you begin to see yourself and the world through a new lens. The brain creates meaning based on patterns of experience. If you spend 21 days focusing on gratitude each morning, your mind begins to scan the world for things to appreciate. If you spend 21 days practicing daily focus, your brain begins to filter distractions more effectively. If you spend 21 days caring for your body, your perception of yourself becomes one of vitality and strength. Repetition doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you believe you are and what you believe is possible. The beginning of each day holds an incredible power that most people overlook. The first few moments after waking are not just a routine, they are an opening, a doorway into how your entire nervous system, your thoughts, and your energy will unfold for the rest of the day. Neuroscience shows that when you wake, your brain is in a highly malleable state. The transition from sleep to waking brings with it brainwave patterns that are slower and more receptive. In this window, you are not yet fully immersed in the old programs of your subconscious mind, which means you have an extraordinary opportunity to influence how you think, feel, and act throughout the hours ahead. This is why beginning with a morning mind reset is one of the most powerful habits you can integrate into your life. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phones. They expose themselves to emails, notifications, and social media feeds, all of which send a flood of information into the brain before it has even grounded itself in the present moment. This immediately triggers stress hormones, hijacks attention, and puts the nervous system into a reactive state. From this place, the day becomes a cycle of reaction rather than conscious creation. The morning mind reset is the antidote. It is a way of claiming back those first sacred minutes, setting the tone intentionally rather than allowing external noise to dictate your inner state. The essence of this practice is to begin each day by regulating your nervous system and orienting your mind toward possibility. One of the simplest and most effective ways to do this is through breath. When you take a series of slow, intentional breaths as soon as you wake, you are signaling to your body that it is safe. Safety is the foundation of clarity, creativity, and growth. A body locked in survival cannot think expansively. It can only repeat the old patterns. By pausing to breathe deeply, you lower cortisol, stabilize heart rate, and prime your brain for presence. Alongside breath, the practice of gratitude in the morning is profoundly powerful. Gratitude is not just a positive thought. It is a physiological state. When you genuinely feel gratitude, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, two chemicals that create feelings of well-being and connection. This sets a neurochemical foundation for the day ahead, teaching your brain to scan for opportunities rather than threats for upper than threat. Gratitude also disrupts the brain's tendency to default back into cycles of fear, lack, or stress. Choosing one thing to be grateful for each morning, no matter how small, begins to train your mind to look for the good. Over time, this shift in perception becomes automatic, and your default state of being transforms. The morning mind reset is also about connecting with intention. Too often, people move into their day with no clear sense of direction, allowing the external world to determine what matters most. But when you begin your morning by setting a clear intention, you are programming your subconscious mind to filter reality in alignment with that focus. For example, if you decide that today you'll embody patience, your brain will begin to notice opportunities to practice it. If you set the intention to move with clarity, you will find yourself drawn toward actions that reflect that clarity. This is not wishful thinking. It is the science of attention. The brain's reticular activating system highlights what you decide is important, and by resetting your mind each morning, you choose what deserves that spotlight. This practice does not require hours. Even 5 to 10 minutes of conscious attention at the start of your day can create profound changes. The key is consistency. Imagine waking every morning, placing your hand over your heart, taking 3 deep breaths, bringing to mind one thing you are grateful for, and silently stating one clear intention for the day. That sequence alone, repeated daily, begins to rewire your nervous system. Over time, your mornings no longer begin with anxiety, distraction, or overwhelm, but with alignment, calmness, and focus. There is also a deeper layer to the morning reset, and that is the recognition of identity. The thoughts and emotions you entertain in the morning are not just fleeting. They shape who you believe yourself to be. If you begin every day rushing, reacting, and feeling behind, your identity is unconsciously tied to stress and inadequacy. But if you begin every day breathing, grounding, and setting gratitude and intention, your identity shifts into one of empowerment, presence, and creation. The subconscious mind is most impressionable in the early morning, which means the way you start your day is, in many ways, a rehearsal for the person you are becoming. Light, sound, and space all communicate signals to your nervous system. Exposing your eyes to natural light within the first hour of waking anchors your circadian rhythm, boosts alertness, and sets your internal clock for energy and rest. Choosing calm sounds or silence instead of chaotic noise grounds your nervous system. Creating a space where you can sit, breathe, and reflect without distraction becomes a physical anchor for the habit, signaling to your body that it is time to reset. What is remarkable about the morning mind reset is that it compounds. One morning may feel like a small improvement, but 21 mornings in a row begin to alter the architecture of your brain. Neural pathways associated with stress weaken, while pathways associated with calm and focus strengthen. Your identity begins to align with the new rhythm. You no longer start your day on autopilot. You begin to live with deliberate awareness. This shift doesn't just change your mornings. It changes the trajectory of your entire life because the way you start your day shapes every death follows. Your body is not just a physical structure, it is energy in motion, a living system designed to generate and circulate vitality. Every day, the way you move either amplifies or diminishes that energy. Most people underestimate how much influence small daily movements have on mood, clarity, and long-term health. They think of exercise only as a tool to lose weight or build muscle, but in truth, movement is far more than that. It is a language your nervous system understands. When you move, you are communicating to your body, telling it how to feel, how to function, and even how to think. This is why integrating energy anchors into your daily rhythm is essential. These anchors are short, intentional bursts of movement that serve as signals, reminders to your body that you are alive, strong, and capable of carrying energy through the day. The nervous system is constantly scanning for cues, aiming for cues. When you sit still for hours at a time, hunched over a desk or scrolling through a device, your body begins to receive the message that it should conserve energy. Muscles tighten, circulation slows, and the brain, you begin to feel heavy and lethargic. Not because you lack motivation, but because your physiology has been programmed into stillness. On the other hand, even small amounts of movement, stretching, standing, walking, breathing with intention, signal to your nervous system that energy is available. These signals activate circulation, release stored tension, and stimulate chemicals in the brain that improve focus and elevate mood. An energy anchor doesn't have to be long. It can be as simple as standing up every hour to stretch your spine, doing a few push-ups or squats, taking a brisk walk outside, or even dancing to a favorite song. What matters most is the repetition of these signals throughout the day. Each time you move intentionally, you break the cycle of stagnation and reintroduce vitality into your system. Over time, these small energy anchors accumulate into profound changes. You begin to carry yourself differently. Your posture shifts, your mood elevates, and your capacity to handle stress increases. The science behind this is movement stimulates the release of endorphins, natural chemicals that create feelings of well-being. It also increases blood flow to the brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients that sharpen focus and memory. Regular movement, even in short bursts, balances neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which are essential for motivation and emotional stability. This means that the simple act of moving your body becomes a way to regulate your mental state. Instead of waiting for energy to appear, you create it by signaling your body through motion. There is also a deeper layer to this practice that goes beyond biology. The way you move influences the way you perceive yourself. When you slouch, drag your feet, or remain still for long periods, your body communicates an identity of fatigue and stagnation. When you lift your chest, move with rhythm, and engage your muscles, your body communicates an identity of strength and vitality. Strength and vitality. The subconscious mind reads these physical signals and shapes your self-image accordingly. This is why even a few minutes of intentional movement in the morning can shift how you experience yourself for the rest of the day. Energy anchors also act as interrupters. However, they break the cycles of autopilot that dominate most of modern life. When you stand, stretch, and breathe deeply after sitting for too long, you interrupt not only the physical stagnation, but also the mental patterns that accompany it. These small resets give your brain the space to reorient, to let go of distractions, and to return to presence. Over time, the habit of anchoring energy through movement becomes a way of living more consciously, instead of drifting unconsciously through repetitive patterns of thought and behavior. The environment in which you live and work plays a role in supporting or depleting your energy. Energy anchors allow you to reclaim control regardless of circumstance. Even if your day is filled with demands, responsibilities, and long hours of stillness, you can choose to weave small bursts of movement into your rhythm. Step outside for a 5-minute walk. During lunch, stretch while waiting for water to boil. Practice a simple breathing exercise before a meeting. These choices seem minor in isolation, but over time they condition your nervous system to expect movement, to crave vitality, and to sustain energy naturally. It's important to remember that the body is not separate from the mind. Every thought has a physiological effect, and every movement has a psychological one. When you create energy anchors, you are reinforcing to both systems that you are not stuck, not stagnant, not powerless. You are teaching yourself that energy is available at any moment, that you are capable of shifting your state instantly. This builds resilience because no matter what stressors arise, you carry within you the ability to recenter through movement. Consider how this practice influences identity over time. If you repeat the act of anchoring energy daily, even in small ways, you begin to embody the identity of someone who prioritizes vitality. Instead of saying, I don't have energy or I feel stuck, you naturally become the person who knows how to generate energy. That identity shapes your choices, your confidence, and the way others perceive you. People are drawn to vitality. They feel the difference in you. The energy you anchor within yourself doesn't just serve you. It ripples outward, influencing the way you show up in every interaction. The practice of energy anchors is not about perfection or rigid discipline. It is about awareness and consistency. It is about recognizing that you don't need hours of intense exercise to feel alive. You simply need to remind your body daily that it is designed for movement, for circulation, for vitality. For each time you move, even for a few minutes, you strengthen the neural pathways that associate your identity with energy. Over weeks and months, this repetition rewires your baseline. You no longer wait for energy. You embody it, you generate it, you anchor it in your body as a natural state of being. Food is often reduced to calories, macros, or fuel. It is a message delivered directly to your cells, instructing your body on how to function, how to heal, and how to generate energy. When you begin to see nourishment through this lens, it becomes far more than simply eating to satisfy hunger. Nourishment with intention is about recognizing the relationship between what you consume and the quality of your life, your clarity, and even your emotional stability. It is about shifting from unconscious patterns of eating into conscious choices that align your body and mind with vitality. Most people eat on autopilot. They wake up, rush through their morning, grab whatever is quick, and continue the cycle throughout the day. The nervous system becomes accustomed to processed foods, refined sugars, and stimulants, creating a cycle of highs and crashes that destabilizes both energy and mood. This pattern is not simply about willpower. It is about conditioning. When you eat unconsciously, your body becomes programmed to crave what is familiar, even if it drains you. Nourishment with intention interrupts this cycle by introducing awareness into the act of eating. It asks you to pause, to choose, and to recognize that food is not separate from your state of being. It is an extension of it. From a biological perspective, nutrition directly shapes the chemistry of your body. Neurotransmitters that regulate mood, focus, and resilience are produced from the nutrients in your food. Serotonin, often called the happiness molecule, is largely influenced by the health of the gut, which depends on the quality of what you eat. Dopamine, which fuels motivation and drive, is also built from amino acids supplied through diet. This means that when you choose whole, nutrient-dense foods, you are not just nourishing your body, you are calibrating your brain for clarity, stability, and creativity. and creativity. The act of nourishing with intention is less about restriction and more about alignment. It does not demand that you overhaul your entire diet in a single day, because the nervous system resists sudden, drastic change. Instead, it encourages small, sustainable upgrades that accumulate into transformation. Choosing water over soda, adding vegetables to one meal, reducing processed snacks, these small shifts send powerful messages to your body. They tell your cells to heal, to energize, and to thrive. Over time, as your body begins to feel the difference, your cravings naturally evolve. What once felt satisfying begins to lose its appeal, and what truly nourishes begins to feel deeply rewarding. Intention is the key. It is not only about what you eat, but also how you eat it. The state you are in when you consume food affects how it is digested and absorbed. When you eat in stress, rushing, and distraction, your body is in survival mode. Digestion slows, absorption is impaired, and inflammation can increase. But when you eat in presence, taking time to breathe, to notice, to appreciate, you shift your nervous system into a state of rest and repair. This simple act of mindful eating transforms the same meal into a different biological experience. It is proof that nourishment is not only physical, but also energetic. Nourishment with intention is also about identity. If you see yourself as someone who is careless with food, who eats whatever is convenient, your choices will reflect that. But when you begin to identify as someone who honors their body, who chooses foods that align with health and clarity, your decisions naturally change. You are no longer fighting cravings with willpower. You are aligning with who you believe yourself to be. This shift in identity is what makes intentional nourishment sustainable, because it no longer feels like something you are forcing yourself to do. It feels like an expression of who you are becoming. There is a ripple effect that emerges from this practice. When you nourish with intention, your energy stabilizes. You think more clearly, your moods balance, and your body feels lighter. This affects how you show up in your work, your relationships, and your creativity. Instead of dragging yourself through the day with caffeine or sugar highs, you carry a steady vitality that radiates into every aspect of life. People notice the difference, and their response to your energy reinforces your commitment. What began as a personal choice becomes a shift that influences your entire environment. On a deeper level, nourishment with intention is an act of self-respect. It is a way of telling yourself that you are worthy of care, that your body is not an afterthought, but a sacred vessel. This act of respect reshapes your subconscious beliefs. Many people unconsciously eat in ways that reinforce patterns of self-neglect, repeating cycles of guilt and shame around food. By consciously choosing foods that honor your well-being, you are rewriting that narrative. You are teaching yourself that you deserve health, clarity, and vitality. That belief anchors into your subconscious and radiates into every other area of your life. Nourishment is also cyclical, tied to rhythm and balance. When you begin to pay attention to how different foods affect you, you notice patterns. Certain choices leave you feeling heavy or sluggish, while others create lightness and focus. Nourishing with intention means listening to these signals and responding to them with awareness. Instead of ignoring the body's feedback, you integrate it into your decisions. Over time, this creates a partnership with your body, a dialogue where you provide what it needs to thrive. This practice does not mean perfection. It does not mean never indulging or enjoying foods that bring comfort. It means bringing awareness into those moments as well, choosing them consciously rather than unconsciously. When you choose with intention, even indulgence becomes part of balance rather than sabotage. The difference lies in the awareness you bring to the act. When you view nourishment through this lens, food becomes more than survival. It becomes a daily practice of alignment, a ritual of choosing life over stagnation, clarity over confusion, vitality over depletion. Each intentional choice becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. Over weeks and months, these choices accumulate into a new baseline of health and energy. The body adapts, the mind shifts, and the identity evolves. What once felt like effort transforms into the natural rhythm of your life. Transformation is not a mystery, nor is it reserved for a select few. It is the natural outcome of consistent alignment between thought, action, and intent. Over these 6 habits, a pattern emerges. Change does not come from massive effort in short bursts, but from small daily choices that rewire your brain, reset your nervous system, and reshape your identity. When you embrace the power of small shifts, commit to 21 days of repetition, begin your mornings with a mind reset, anchor energy through movement, nourish yourself with intention, create digital boundaries, focus on what matters most, and close each day with reflection. Each day, you are no longer simply surviving, you are consciously creating. Each habit is a doorway into a new state of being. Together, they form a system that builds momentum, expands awareness, and transforms possibility into reality. The science of neuroplasticity confirms it, and lived experience proves it. Who you become is the result of what you choose to repeat. The question is not whether you can change, it is whether you are willing to meet yourself each day with intention to practice these habits and to allow your future self to emerge from the choices you make right now.